35 years. I know I don't look over 35, but I've been there a long time. I don't make smart remarks out of the back row either. I know this young man, I've known him since he was about this big too, so lots of old friends out here. One of the things that I do is I volunteer for the State Council of Sherman. I'm the director of social media, so I'm really involved with this stuff. I've learned a lot about it, and I have also taken that opportunity to use that stuff in my day-to-day job, in my workings. This LinkedIn stuff, I'm all over this all day, a lot of times, trying to find people, trying to connect with people. I use Twitter all of the time. In fact, today I used Twitter. In a situation, we got a gentleman that we want to hire who is from India. And we kind of got the cart ahead of the horse, and we got real interested in hiring him. And not wanting to be a racist or anything, I held back on asking him, but at some point I had to ask him, you know, I know that I see on your resume that you're from India. Are you legal to work in this country? And he said, I have a work visa that's good through 11 of 2014. After 2014, I need to have another visa. And he said he needed to have an H-1B visa. I've done a couple H-1B visas in my career. Doing a visa is really convoluted work, but I didn't know how they're running lately or how long it takes, things like that. So I went out on Twitter and I just posted, you know, has anybody done an H-1B visa lately, and how did that go for you? Send me a DM. Y'all know what a DM is? Direct message. So it's offline, so I'm not out there in the public. So I got about a half a dozen DMs on that, and I got a couple good articles. I also contacted Sherman, and they sent me some information. So we live in a world where being connected is vital to being able to get information and get it quickly. And that's the world we live in now. Everybody wants everything right away. I was going to show you guys a few things, and I didn't prepare a lot of handouts or anything. I put my notes up on a blog site, and you should like this, Drew. I'm the HR official. I know Drew from hockey here, and if let me be self-indulgent here for a minute. See, that's what I do. And that kid, he takes a lot of penalties too. Okay, this is the material I'll be referencing. I thought you might enjoy what I had to say a little more if you didn't have to go look it up or Google it. So this is it right here. Are you all on LinkedIn? Is everybody on LinkedIn? Yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I implore you to be on LinkedIn. That is the business Facebook, and that's really the way to get hired, especially when you come out of school. People are going to know you for how you're connected out there. I have a son who just graduated from SIU in May, and I gave him access to my account, and he mined it and mined it and mined it, and found a bunch of people, and lo and behold, he wanted to work for this company up in Chicago called Edelman. They're a public relations firm. And he dogged them and finally got an interview. And at the time he got an interview, I was out in Washington, D.C. with Donna at a conference. And there was another gentleman there named Todd Humes. And Todd is the president of the Staffing Management Association of Chicago. And so I was telling Todd that my son is looking for a job up in Chicago, and he's interested in working at this company called Edelman. And he says, you know, I know somebody over at Edelman. And I said, really? He said, yeah. I said, would you maybe just shoot an email over there and contact him and, you know, tell him what a great outfit the Ryan family is? And he said, yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So he did. And I was home, I think it was on Monday night, he'd sent this email. And I'm looking at my phone, I go, oh, Todd sent that email. So my son's still there, and I said, hey, my friend sent an email over to somebody at Edelman. You want to take a look at it? He said, yeah. He looks at it and he said, he sent it to Travis, Dad. And I said, who's Travis? He said, Travis is the guy I'm interviewing with. So, pretty small world. And and, you know, Chicago's a big city. So it's those kinds of things that happen there from being out here on LinkedIn, networking with people. Let's see, this is my profile, and for the most part, it's pretty complete. You know, I don't know if you've seen, you got the little things. You beg your friends for recommendations, and if you're really nice to them, they'll write some glowing things about you. Fellow students could write recommendations about each other if you work together on something. It's not hard to get that content.
Your group project?
Yeah, somebody, you know, if you loafed and somebody really carried the weight on a project, you could say what a great person they were and how they helped you out, how you enjoyed working with them, and all of those nice things that you talk about people. Trying to get back to, there's all the groups that I belong to, and you can see like Bakery Network, I'm in the donut business, that makes sense. SHRM, another confectionery group, a Current Labor News, Dr. Nick's HR Corner, food, you kind of get the drift there, it's back and forth between food and HR, and
What would you say the benefit is to belonging to some of the groups?
most of the groups send out a weekly or daily summary, if you're interested in accepting it, of the conversations that are going on, the postings that are going on there, things that people are talking about. They also post jobs on these groups, so that's a very, very important thing if you're looking for that. If you're looking for a job, you want to know where these jobs are coming from, and a lot of them get posted on these group boards. I had another, this is a war story, but we have salespeople that live in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Ohio, and throughout the Midwest. And we wanted to add another salesperson in the Des Moines, Iowa area. And I'm a Springfield native, so I don't know very many people in Des Moines, Iowa. So what I did at the advice of a friend of mine was I went out and I searched on LinkedIn for the biggest business group I could find in Des Moines, which was the Des Moines Chamber of Commerce group. And they had about 5,000 people that were in that group. So I joined the group, and usually most of these groups, unless they're very, very focused, you know, they'll usually let you join. So I joined their group, then I got on their group, so then I posted a job on their page. And now I got exposure to 5,000 people in Des Moines, Iowa, where I wanted to hire a salesperson. And the beauty of that, from where I sit, is it didn't cost a dime. You know, normally to run an ad in a major daily like the Des Moines Register, something probably gonna cost $1,000, $1,200 to run that ad. So I got to 5,000 people, and then, you know, you've got the 5 degrees of separation, somebody knows somebody that knows somebody that saw this, and then they pass it on. Those job postings, you can just click at the bottom and email it to somebody. So that's a very, very effective way to get to large groups of people that you don't normally have access to. As I was telling this young lady over here, you know, it also works the other way. If you want to get hooked up with somebody, you want to get in touch with somebody, join a group that they belong to, and then that will hook you up with them right away. So that's a backdoor to get to them.
Feel free to ask questions if you have them as we go through this.
Yeah, I'm stumped struggling. Is it you? Get back to that.
Is it the Internet Explorer browser issue?
No.
Oh,
I was just trying to get to my main page. This is to edit it. I don't want to edit it.
maybe just scroll back up to the top?
Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, it doesn't.
Hey, there's Donna Rogers right there.
Mhm.
Any questions about that? I mean, it's kind of the business Facebook, you know, if you're out there, and I think it's really imperative that you guys,
How do
know,
you
that-
search the groups? Like, where do you find where the different like, when you went to look for Des Moines, Iowa, how do you know where to go to find the different groups in that state?
There's just a search button on there.
Maybe just hit the back button?
This is,
Keep going back? Oh, you went in from there. Okay, I see. And it's just a profile pic.
Yeah, I need to get out of profile. and get into my,
Should have kept it up there, I'm sorry.
That's all right. See if I can tell you about it.
There's, what was the question you asked?
How to get to the different groups in different states?
Oh, the search engine, basically, right there.
In the upper right-hand corner there, there's a, you can search for people, and then there's an advanced search. And then I think when you're within the groups, if you want to look for people, this is where you would go to do that. And you can look by name.
And you see there's a groups tab up there, up third one in. You can go there and do a search as well.
Okay. But there's not like just where you can have a drop down to see the different groups in that state?
There, right there, groups
Okay.
directory. Well, you probably have to go to the groups directory and then do a search for
What do we want to search
Illinois
for?
or Oahu.
Dennis in
I don't know.
Omaha?
I was just curious, I don't know.
Yeah, there you go, dentist in Omaha. Nothing. Companies, looking for companies. Oh, you got it spelled wrong, that's why.
Is that it? Damn, sis. Let's go to Omaha and see what we get.
It's similar to Facebook.
Okay. Yeah, see, I don't do Facebook.
And then you join, if you want to join.
Oh.
Now, sometimes they have to approve you. And like one, I noticed recently, there are a few groups that I was in, HR groups, that said that they sent me an email and they said, well, you haven't been doing anything lately, so we dropped you. So if you don't actively use it, they may actually drop you. I don't know if they have some sort of metric that, you know, randomly checks or something, but I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was a couple HR groups, and it seems like it happened like within a month of each other.
This is ironic now. We just Googled or did Omaha. Jason Morrison, you know who he is? You know who Maren Hogan is?
Mm-hmm,
You know who Lori McIntosh is?
mm-hmm.
Yeah,
And Tim
so-
Sackett and Sabrina Baker. I don't know Kelly Gillum. Yeah, in Whitman, wherever that is.
If you become really active in social media, and I didn't, my son showed me this. This didn't, this was an outcome, this wasn't the objective. Okay, if I Google Dave Ryan and human resources, there's my blog site, there's me. So, you know, and
Well, a lot of employers are doing that nowadays, actually.
yeah, and then nobody goes past page one either. So if you're not on page one, you're nobody. But the more times you get your name out there, the more links you're associated with, the higher you're gonna go up in search engine optimization. You're gonna keep moving up in the ranks there. And if you're looking for a job, that's a good thing. You know, if you do things on campus, if you're on Twitter, every time you put links out there on Twitter, they're associated with your name, that's gonna bump you up even higher. Is there any questions about LinkedIn? Any other questions about that?
When somebody's looking at your page, like, you know, if I'm asked asking my coworkers and that kind of stuff to join me on LinkedIn or connect to me, are they seeing the job offers that are being sent to? I just don't want it to be like, you know, my boss come up to me the next day and say, oh, you're looking for a new job? You know, that kind of thing.
That's a good question, yeah.
There's a box on there that says, you know,
Towards the bottom.
you know, are you available for offers, consulting and stuff? And most people that have that out there, I mean, I've been where I'm at 35 years. Somebody offered me $150,000 tomorrow, I'm there, I'm gone. So, you know, it's, yeah, anybody will move, it's just whether you get the right price or not. And, you know, you're not being disloyal based upon the fact that they've got, what was the last number I saw? Geez, 111 million people are on LinkedIn in this country. So, you know, that's huge. And you're not out, you know, actively soliciting. There's a mail account associated with your LinkedIn account, and then that's between you and the person sending it to you. So, you know, if you have correspondence with somebody, you can see here on my profile here, I showed up 17 times in the last week in search results, and then this is the who's been creeping on me page, and they'll only show you 4 or 5 of the folks that were there recently. So, you know, you can go over and look at that. I know women tend to be a little more concerned about that than men do. You know, who's looking at your profile and then what could they possibly do? And, you know, I look at people all over the country and stuff, and sometimes I click the wrong one. So somebody's wondering, what the heck is he doing looking at me? Well, so wrong number, so to speak. So, you know, that happens, so I wouldn't get too worried about that too much. Because if you've got some information in there, if they want to talk to you, they can contact you. They can send you an email within LinkedIn, and, you know, you don't have to respond to them, but you can. And then you can also see, you know, if the search criteria there, that like, I don't know, if people were looking for human resources or Springfield, Illinois, or donuts, or bakery, or something like that, that's probably how he showed up.
You know, it's kind of an interesting question, though, because at the very bottom, you do check the box of things, like you mentioned, you know, are you looking for consulting, are you looking for full-time work, are you looking just to make connections, that kind of thing. There was a case in the UK about 6 to 8 months ago where a boss had discovered that an employee had gotten on LinkedIn and went to their page and discovered that they had all of those boxes checked. That yes, indeed, you know, if I get a $150,000 opportunity, you know, I'm going to look for it. But it doesn't, it just says, it's very vague, and it just has like 6 or 8 boxes, and it says, you know, I'm looking for opportunities. And it doesn't even say I am, it just says opportunities, you know, box check or not. And so anyway, what happened was this employee had those boxes checked. The boss got on, looked at the profile, discovered that they had their boxes checked, and he got fired. And then it came back to on the company because they had 8 or 9 management members, including the manager that fired this employee. They looked at their profiles. Guess what they found? Same thing. All of their boxes were checked as well. And the guy was not looking for a job. He was on LinkedIn for his job to make networking connections. But he got fired because he had the box, and then everybody else, and then they lost, of course, because lots of people have their box checked, you know, just in case. But that's all they can see. It's not that they can see the correspondence that you have or anything like that. They basically see your resume, and they see what you're looking for if you are not. And you can uncheck it if you don't want anybody to contact you. But if you have it open, then that's when recruiters can contact you. And the other thing is Trish McFarlane. She did a blog talk radio show. She actually lives in Belleville, and she works in St. Louis. And she just got a new job about, I don't know, about 8 months to a year ago. And the way she got that job was she has been very, she wrote, what's the name of her blog site, do you know? HR Ringleader. She has been very out there, so to speak, and blogging, and kind of one of the first groups of people that were doing Twitter and things like that on HR. And so if you Googled her name, for example, there would be a lot of stuff coming up too. Well, one of the things that she discovered, and I think it might have been a TalentNet Live show or something, I think it might have been Craig Fisher or Mark Stelzner or one of those guys, that did a presentation, which you could probably find online, and it was actually streaming live during the actual conference, and it was how do you improve your LinkedIn profile. And so she had a LinkedIn profile, but she had never gone through the process of completing it 100%. And I think it's over on the right-hand side typically, where there's a little bar and it'll say if it's complete or not. So like when you first get on, yeah, you've seen it. So when you first get on and you start adding stuff, you're uploading your resume and you're adding your jobs and your experience, it'll maybe say, 20, 50, 80%. But hers was, I don't know, 70, 80%, but it was never 100. And so she heard the session that was taped, and she said, oh, I better go in there and finish my LinkedIn profile. And she, at that time, I think she was working for the Children's Hospital in St. Louis. And as soon as she got 100%, there were these recruiters started looking for her. And the funny thing is so she goes to she talks about this in the drive-through HR. She goes to the interview. The people had no idea that she had this big following online and that she'd been blogging about HR and all that. And she said that they found her only because of her LinkedIn profile. That was it. It had nothing to do with the fact that she was very popular in the HR community for 5 years or so. She speaks all over the country and all that kind of stuff, but they had no idea. It was because of the 100% on the LinkedIn profile that made her pop up for this particular company. So
we're looking at LinkedIn. Remember, there's two different things. This is the public profile here, what we're seeing like a Trish right now, and then when you're on the other side, that's your profile where you can edit that, and the whole world doesn't see that. And the point Donna was making about Trish there, I would advise you too, if you got an interview with a guy like me or a person like Donna, look them up on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And then you can find out a little bit about them, what their interests are, what they've been, what they did before they, where they worked before they worked here, all of these things. So you can go in there into that interview and already know some things about, it's a lot easier when you have something common to talk about. And then, you're gonna pump somebody's ego up if you go in there and you tell them, well, gosh, Dave, I know you're into hockey and I read your blog site and I see that, you like spending time on the golf course. Have you ever played Pebble Beach? And I had an opportunity to go out there. So it gives you a lot of conversation, and it also shows that you did your research. And you can also go online and look at, companies. I was telling you, my son wanted to work for Edelman. You can research a company like Edelman, and then you can go backwards, and once you get to the company, then you can look at lists of people. Then you can kind of look and see how long have people been there, what are they doing, are they advancing through the organization, or is everybody there a year or two and poof, out the door? So you can learn a lot about the companies as well by looking at the people who are in there. So you've got a back door to get to the people that work at the organization. And sometimes I've heard of people, if you want to get the skinny, connect with somebody that left the organization, go join a group that they belong to, then get connected to them, and then say, hey, when you were working for Edelman, I saw you were only there 2 years, why'd you leave? what's up with that organization? Do they not like old white guys like you, or, you know, do they, why did you leave? So that's another way that you can just find your way around there and find out about companies. There's another website out there called, what's it, Glassdoor,
Oh, yes.
that you can look at, and people, it's kind of like a Yelp. You know what Yelp is? It's kind of a Yelp for employers, and not most of the time, some of the time, people on Glassdoor tend to do rave outs, you know, about how poorly I was treated, this, that, and the other thing, but there's a lot of good stuff on there. And they also talk about salaries, salary ranges and working conditions, things like that. So there's another wealth of information for you if you're looking for employment out there.
Can you explain a Yelp? Some people didn't know what that
Yelp
was.
is a site for consumers. If you go someplace and you're treated really poorly, you go to Yelp and go, don't ever go to the cafeteria at UIS. All of the people waiting on there are cement heads. The food is terrible. There, I feel better. So, or conversely, you know, if you go to the Holiday Inn and you go, my goodness, this gal Susie at the front desk at the Holiday Inn gave me a $20 discount. They parked my car for me, and they upgraded me to a king suite because I got here late and I looked really tired. Great place. Funny thing about Yelp too, and you may have seen this, Donna. It's a public site. You can go on there. I don't go there much. Let's see what it looks like.
Kind of reminds me of the ads for Angie's List. I've seen that on TV a million times. It's kind of like that. But Glassdoor is very, very popular. It's actually becoming more popular than some of the bigger sites, other social media sites.
One of the interesting things you're talking about Yelp, I saw somebody had done a presentation that, do you guys all know what algorithms are? Raise your hand if you know what an algorithm is.
Kinda.
An algorithm is a set of criteria that computer programmers put together, and based upon what inputs they get, then they'll give you outputs. So, like one of the things that a lot of companies do now, depending upon what's in your cache on your computer, let's say I was on looking at lawnmowers, because I want to buy a new lawnmower, and I've been looking at lawnmower engines in different retailers and stuff like that. Well, when I come here to look for a hotel, all of a sudden I see these little ads over here for lawnmowers, and I go, gosh, I was just looking for a lawnmower. Isn't that handy? Isn't that convenient that these just happen to show up here? Well, they're looking at what's going on in your computer. Well, so now they've got these algorithms that are looking at things that people are doing and they're searching for and stuff. So like, I saw this one thing on Yelp, and somebody is just slamming Monocle's Pizza, and down at the bottom is an ad for Pizza Hut. Right underneath, somebody up here trashing Monocle's. So they had this algorithm set up for Pizza Hut, so every time a pizza restaurant gets trashed, they throw up our Pizza Hut ad underneath that. So that's pretty intuitive, and it's a pretty sophisticated advertising that you don't even see going on behind the scenes.
Probably gonna be something like that for employers
Probably.
at some point. You know, you start getting a bad reputation for being a poor employer, then
You're gonna get slammed, yeah.
And then
Nobody's gonna wanna work there.
Caterpillar will have their ad there, and just kidding.
That's right. You know, I guess there's a link on here, if you wanna go to this blog site, it's my blog site, HR Official, it's on LinkedIn and, how to get started, a beginner's guide. You can go there and look at that if you want to.
I did give them the Mark Stelzner,
Twitter 101 presentation.
yeah, that's on the LinkedIn site, Blackboard.
I was gonna blow through some slides in here. You guys know what SlideShare is? You ever heard of SlideShare? this stuff's out there and it's all free. SlideShare is a site where people can upload presentations that they've done, whether they've done them in Keynote or PowerPoint or Prezi or anything like that. You can upload it there and just share it with the world. If you've done some really good work and you want to share it, that's fine. People will look at it. This one here, this gentleman here is John Sumser. He publishes a magazine called HR Examiner, and he's probably one of the brightest people I know in HR. He's what we call a thought leader, but he really and truly is. He put this up, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's had over 4,400 views in 2 weeks. So people are looking at what he has to say.
And he's in the UK?
He's in San Francisco.
San Francisco, okay.
Bodega Bay. When I talked to him the other day, he told me, yeah, it's foggy there 250 days a year, and it was sun shining there, so it was a nice day. Anyway, so I was looking at this slide deck that he put up on social recruiting, and it was from a presentation that he'd done. And I'm not gonna pretend to act like I know what he said. I do know what he said about a few slides, because I asked him about him and talked to him. But, there we go. So I'm not gonna try and steal his slide deck, but one of the things he was, social recruiting, he's kind of saying how things are changing here, and this is how fast the curve's going on that. So you can see that is changing. And then this is the early market.
You want to explain what you mean by social recruiting?
Social recruiting is using just social media channels and things of that nature, YouTube, Facebook. Do you guys go to, if you're looking for a job, would you go to Facebook or not? Raise your hand if you would. Nobody would go to Facebook for a job? Lots of companies have Facebook pages out there and they're hawking their wares.
Mm-hmm.
You mentioned YouTube, who's gonna go there for a job?
Why would you go there for a job? Because a lot of companies that want to hire you have videos showing what it is that they do, what their workplace looks like, what the culture of the company is.
What it's like to work there.
Maybe even some face-to-face interviews. I put up on YouTube about our company. Chairman of the board brought in a shoebox full of old videos from, I don't know, 85 to 2000, and I digitized them. I took them off VHS tape. Y'all know what VHS tape is? And put them onto YouTube and uploaded them, and we got a bunch of hits on them. You know, people like, there's some old stories from Don Hickman and Susan Finzen, and it's funny, when I was taking this one story off that they did in 97, and it was about, we were building this new plant out on the west side of town. We've been out there 16 years now. And right after this story was over, there was an interview with Jason Worth, who was playing high school baseball for Glenwood. And he was a good-looking young man at the time. He's kind of shabby-looking old guy now. But what social media is all of those things out there. And we've got a Facebook page. We do recruiting on Facebook. I essentially use Facebook to point people to our employment page. But if people look up Mellow Cream and they find us on Facebook, we've got a fan page there, and we've got jobs there. So all these places are available, and people are posting jobs out there. They're posting them on Twitter. They're posting them on their own websites. They're posting them on Pinterest. Craigslist. I've hired people off Craigslist. Craigslist is free. You know, it's another one of these resources. So, and we're putting them on a site called like Quora, Focus. There's just a ton of sites out there, and depending upon what you're looking for, those sites have different types of traffic. You know, Pinterest, I think, in the last stat I read on that was probably like 80-some% are women. So, you know, if I'm looking for men, I'm probably going to stay away from Pinterest. If I'm looking for women, you know, that may be a good place to go to source them. So there's all of these avenues out there, and which one is right and which one is wrong. Every recruiting effort is a new initiative. There's a different set of people out there looking for a job. Every time I have a different job to fill, so it's not gonna be the same result over and over. So that's why we kinda use the shotgun approach and go to a lot of different channels there.
Well, and the other thing I want to mention too is some of the sites that I mentioned to you in terms of how do you follow a hashtag, so to speak, or a stream on Twitter. Hootsuite, TweetDeck, some of those resources actually allow a recruiter to just post a job posting once and then duplicate it on all of those sites. They could put it on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, any of their social media sites all at once. So it sounds like a whole lot of work from a recruiter standpoint, but really if you set it up appropriately, you can do it in a matter of seconds.
And then they can automate those things like on Twitter, there's tools out there where you can program tweets and you can send it out every probably 15 minutes if you want. At some point, you're gonna beat people over the head with
Schedule
it.
it.
You know, I tend to do that maybe 3 or 4 times over the course of a day if I'm gonna put a job on Twitter. But, yeah, and you can hook them all up. Now, on a personal level, I've seen people do that when they have their Facebook page and their LinkedIn page and their Twitter account and their Google Plus account all connected. It looks goofy because you're putting up a bunch of stuff. Each one of those things has their own little nuances about them. And if you're putting Twitter stuff up on LinkedIn or Facebook, people that aren't on Twitter are looking at that like your dog looks at you, and what the hell are you doing with that, so.
Yeah, especially like all the hashtags, because on LinkedIn you can't, at least now, I've heard that LinkedIn is going to set up so that you can follow hashtags. Have you heard that?
Yeah, I think I read that somewhere.
But at first, you know, I did have some people, I mean, you kind of learn as you go. And I remember at one point I did have my Twitter hooked to my LinkedIn, and then people were like, what does this say? And what's that mean? What's those symbols that you're using and all that stuff? And so then, of course, after we had more training, then they said, no, don't link your Twitter with your LinkedIn, because it's not, it's just a different platform, and that's not what people expect, so.
Yeah, I've got, we put some jobs on helponespringfield.com, and they've got a service now where they will text out to people that have joined that say that they want alerts when new jobs come up. So if you post a job, then they're sending it out to you as opposed to you coming back to them. So, and this stuff's only gonna start happening faster and faster and more. So there's lots of opportunities out there to find these things. This slide here, he talks about job board 1.0. This was kind of like older days. 2, we've got data in one place, Indeed and LinkedIn. And then job board 3, we've got users are responsible for their own success. People are posting jobs now. Do any of you folks have resumes posted on job boards? Did you know that you could do that? You can go post a job or a resume on the job board, or you can look for a job posting. And then when you put a resume out there, you can also set up criteria that if somebody posts up a job that has to do with accounting and an undergraduate degree in Springfield, then you want to forward your resume to that, to the outfit that posted that job. And it's all automated.
In your opinion, our chapter talked about job boards versus social media, and how job boards were kind of Monster and that kind of stuff were kind of the old school already. Do you find that you post your stuff on those job boards as well, or do you use the other mediums that you were talking about?
I tend to use the job boards when I'm trying to cast a wider net. That if I'm looking for, we were looking for somebody with a degree in microbiological sciences to do food safety for us. And, you know, chances are probably pretty good, I'm not gonna find that person in Springfield, Illinois. So I put that one on Monster, and I put it on Career Builder. And then you can buy ranges there, I can post it within a 100-mile radius, a 500-mile radius, or nationwide. So, you know, I cast a little wider net with that thing. And then what happens though is, then all of these job boards, they aggregate and then they take each other's postings and put them over there. So my Monster posting ends up on Indeed, and then if my Career Builder posting ends up on myfoodrecruiter.com, and it's really convoluted. And when I first started happening, that kind of irked me. I thought, what are they doing hijacking my job posting? But then I thought about it, you know, I thought, I want to get this job posting in front of as many people possible. So if every website in the world puts that job out there, I'm okay with that.
Do you feel like you get oversaturated with resumes that don't really meet the criteria?
Yes.
I do think.
You know, and then that's kind of how you write the job description. And then on, you know, like on Monster and stuff, you can set criteria, you know, and they've got, what do they call them? You know, if I say we're looking for somebody with an undergraduate degree in biology, and that's the criteria, and do you have an undergraduate degree in biology? No. See ya. So, you know, you can automate quite a bit of that stuff, depending upon how you're getting them. I've got another outfit that we're using, that we're collecting resumes, and then we're doing behavioral assessments, you know, as they apply. So then you're hitting some other criteria in there as well. So, yeah, but it can be daunting, you know, if you're the one that has to go through all this, and then that's why what's happening is this stuff's getting automated, and I was talking about algorithms and stuff, you know, I get a lot of calls, did you look at my resume? You know what, the fact of the matter is, probably people don't look through resumes. We scan or search for criteria or keywords or things like that, and then those are the people that come up. And if I'm looking for that, let's go back to that undergraduate degree in biology, then I'm gonna look for everybody BA biology. And then, okay, so then I grab that group of people, and then those are the only ones I'm gonna look at, because that's what I said I want. And then, you know, I have a problem with maintenance. The maintenance technicians that I'm looking to hire is I want somebody that's got experience with three-phase electricity, somebody that knows that knows hydraulics, pneumatics, and can work on what's called a PLC, a programmable logical controller. And I get people that, well, I can do maintenance, I can patch drywall, and I can take the trash out and wash windows. Well, that's 100 miles away from what I'm looking for. So, you know, I don't want to be mean or rude to those people, but I don't have a job for them doing that. And so, you know, and then that's something else that as an employer, you have to be very, very careful, because you can also get a reputation. And I tell people this a lot, you know, like when I was looking to hire maintenance people or 2 maintenance people, and I get 200 applicants, you know, gosh, your chances of getting an interview are probably only 10 or 15 out of 200, and then there's 1 or 2 jobs there. So a lot of people think that you're being snooty or you're not giving them the time of day, but I think the tide's gonna turn on us employers here one of these days, and the economy's gonna turn around and the jobs are gonna be a lot more plentiful. And then people like you and me are gonna be going, what do we do now? What do we do now? Because the old story is that when the economy picks up and things get better, all the people that are here working for my company that hate me, the company, and everything we do, you better not be standing in front of the door there when the economy picks up, because they're all gonna be headed for the door at a trot. So you gotta be very careful about that. So you wanna maintain your reputation as a good employer, as a fair employer, and a good place to work. Take that.
Dave, before you start on this slide, could you go back for just a sec? One more. Okay. The social media 1.0, we already talked about Facebook, Twitter, referrals maybe a little bit, but blogging. The students in the class have to blog, and they blog about HR-related things that I've assigned them, mostly social learning opportunities. And so the whole concept of actually doing the blogging, how is that helpful to get a job or to even recruit people for jobs, to get experience blogging?
Well, if you're blogging and you're getting your name out there on your blog, you're coming up in the search engine optimization ranking because you're putting content out into the internet. So that's gonna help you show up a little bit higher. If you are blogging, and what do you guys, most of you guys, business management, HR, what do you, business?
Business.
Okay, so if I'm looking for somebody out there in business, and somehow your name pops up, and then I see you've got a blog site, and I see, well, gosh, here's a guy that's applied here, he's got a blog. I can kind of get inside his head a little bit and see what they're all about, kind of the way that you view the world. Because one of the biggest things that we try and find when we try and find employees is a cultural fit. Somebody that's gonna work within our organization, and they're gonna get along with everybody else there. So, you know, if I kind of get an idea on how you view the world and things like that, I can, and that's gonna come through in your writing, in your blogging. I think if you're forced to write, as you are right now, you'll become better writers. I had a very good teacher right here at this institution myself, and I remember her telling me, remember, writers write. And so, in anything you do in business, you're gonna have to write, you're gonna have to